Welcome back to Coal and Shield Ironworks. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how easy it is to forge this little piece of flat bar into a $50 traditional bottle opener. To forge our bottle opener, we're going to be using all 5 of the beginner smithing tools that we forged in my beginner smithing tool series. So if you haven't yet watched those videos and made all of these tools, go give them a watch after this to make sure that you're properly prepared. You want to start out by cutting a piece of flat bar. Now this is 5 by 25 millimeters in dimension, and it is 140 millimeters long. And if we're going over to inches, this is 5.5 inches long. It is 3/16 in depth and 1 inch in width. And yes, I have been learning the imperial system just for you guys over in the States. Now we'll chuck our workpiece in the forge while I show you a tip to prevent a major beginner mistake. Now it's really important to know where to position your slot punch on the flat bar. If we've got our flat bar here, the mistake I want you to avoid is by punching the flat bar with your hole punch too close to the end of the material. Otherwise, when we're widening the material, there won't be enough material at the top of the eye. Otherwise, you'll end up with something like this. You can see where the top is, it's really thin compared to the sides. To combat this, you want to move your slot punch so there's just a little bit more material on the end than there is on the sides. Trust me, I have learnt from my mistakes. And once you know where your slot punch is going to be, say that you've got this on your material, you want to take a measurement just below where your slot punch, the bottom of your slot punch is. When you get that measurement, that'll tell us where we have to begin the taper for our handle. Your measurement may be a little bit different than mine because it all depends on how long your slot punch is. I probably shouldn't have already chucked that workpiece in the forge to heat up. Now I'm gonna have to pull it back out, cool it off, and I'll show you how to do this right now. You know what? We don't actually have to cool this off, but what we'll do is we can see that I'm going to leave just a little bit more material on the end than we have on the sides. So this is about 9 millimeters. I'm aiming for 10 millimeters or 11 millimeters. Yeah, 10 millimeters. Now I want to get a measurement of just below a couple millimeters or about a 1/16 of an inch below the bottom of our slot punch. And that comes out to about 37 millimeters. So I'm going to remember that measurement because we're going to need that when we move on to our first part of the forging process where we forge out our handle. So now we're going to take that measurement that we got before, mine was 37 millimeters, and we're going to hang that over the edge. Oh, where's my hammer? Okay, we're going to hang that over the edge of our anvil, and we're going to use the planishing side of our hammer to knock down right above the edge of our anvil. Probably should have had my hammer ready to go because we've cooled down so quickly. But what we're going to do is we're going to knock that down. And the reason we want to use the planishing face of our hammer is because it more closely resembles the edge of our anvil flat face rather than the rounding face, because then we'll have one kind of sharp indent and then one rounded one. We want to combat that. Now you don't want to be afraid to take this part slowly, because this is a part where you really got to be as accurate as you can be. It may take a while and you might have to flatten it out as you go, swap sides, continue. Just try and be as accurate as you can, and accuracy will come with time and practice. You can already see we're starting to get there. I reckon 1 or 2 heats and we'll get to where we want to be. Remember the flat face? Don't be afraid to take this part slowly. And try and index the hammer into that little notch as you go. I reckon we heat it back up. I reckon 1 more heat and we'll be where we want to be. Okie dokie. Last heat. Almost there. Bit of twist. Very good. Okay, now I'm happy with the width of the neck there. So now what we're going to do is we'll flip our workpiece around and we'll heat up the handle, and we're going to taper it out from the neck all the way out so that by the time we get to the end, we're still at our original width of the material. So we're just going to make that nice and smooth transition. Sweep her off. Now I like to come to the close face so I can notch that in there and just slowly work my way up. This is a really easy step. Might get a little bit of twisting. You can start off with your rounding hammer to move the material quickly, but then at this stage you want to move over back to your planishing face because it's not a lot of material that we have to move. And periodically flint it back out. Get rid of any twists that you may have formed. I reckon I can make that a little bit better. It's probably still hot enough where we can just kind of knock down those edges a little bit. Make it nice and smooth. I do have to be careful though, because this anvil is only cast iron, so it marks very easily. Hopefully I can get a sponsorship soon and I can get a free anvil. So now we have got our handle forged out and we have prepared the eye section. So now we're going to heat our piece back up and we're going to punch it through with our slot punch. Now before we move on to punching our hole for our eye, we're going to heat up the handle one more time. I'll just knock down these corners here to make it a little bit prettier, and we're going to use our hole punch that I forged in my smithing tool series to punch a hole right in the end so we can tie some leather cord through there after it's all finished and cooled. I'll just start out by forging down these corners real quick and flattening it out, and that'll just make it more comfortable. You don't want any sharp edges on your bottle opener because this is going to be in your hand at the end of the day. So I'll just heat that up one more time, then we'll get that hole punched through. So we'll start off by punching about 3/4 of the way through from the front side, and I'm going to do it about 2 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch away from the end. Now also you want to remember to keep your punch cool as you do this, otherwise you could ruin the temper on it. But one more hit. Cool, and now we're going to flip it around. I'm going to put it on my bolster plate. Get this back on here, you can see where it's shiny on the face so we know exactly where our hole is on the other side. Punch through, just make sure you're right on top of the hole. It's okay that it's not at a red hot heat anymore. Ideally you want it to be at cooling down to a red or almost a black heat, because you don't want to forge it back from the other side. You want to shear it through just like that. So now we've got a nice hole at the end of our handle that we can put our cord through once we're done. And now we're going to move on and punch our hole for the eye with our slot punch. The slot punch we forged in my beginner smithing tool series. And be sure to remember not to go too close to the end like we discussed. Now because this material is so thin, it loses heat very quickly. And because the surface area of the slot punch is a lot wider than just a normal hole punch, it could definitely take more than one heat to do this process. And you really want to watch this video I made when I forged this punch, because we made it so it has a slight edge on it, making it really easy to index into your material. I'm going to give this one more heat and hopefully my camera doesn't run out of battery. We're on 2% battery, so we got to make this quick, and then I'm going to have to take a break and recharge my camera. looking pretty good. Cool it off. Now we're going to turn it over. We're going to punch through from the other side. Re-index. Come on. And there you have it. A tip I learned from Blackbird Forge is for us to first upset the end of our bottle opener by heating it up and whacking it against the flat face of our anvil, and that'll push those little arms out there. And that'll make it a bit easier for us to get our drift in there and widen it further. The drift, by the way, that we made in my beginner smithing tool series. John, shut up about your tool series. No. It's opened up a little bit. Pro tip, you really want to get this eye as hot as you can without burning it. Reason being, look at that. That actually went through way quicker than I expected. Anyway, the reason why you want to keep this as hot as you can is you don't want to break it, which can happen if it gets too cool while you're drifting it. If it gets too cool while you're drifting it, it could actually crack or snap because it's not squashing the material like we do with most other smithing techniques. It's actually stretching it wider, like at the YMCA in the 80s. Just going to pop that through one more time from the other side. See that? It's having difficulty getting through. But it was nearly there, so I'm all good with that. Now I'm just going to take this time to knock down, I'm going to heat it back up and knock down those high spots that we've created. Planishing face. It's looking good. Oh yeah, now we're getting somewhere. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to hit that like button. And let me know in the comments what you think of my new lighting setup. I think it looks better than my previous videos, but that's up to you to judge, so let me know. Now to widen the eye to our desired diameter, we're going to move to the horn of our anvil. And by the way, there's a reason they call it diameter and not dia-inch. Metric system for the win, yeah! Back on topic, in a minute I'm going to show you how to forge out the eye, and I'm going to show you a beginner mistake that I see heaps of beginners make, and I made myself, by standing on the wrong side of the anvil while you're widening the eye. If you're right-handed like me, you want to stand on this side of the anvil so you can widen it when you bring it around, when you bring your arm around. If I was to stand on the opposite side, you can see the trouble I've got. You can see the problem I've got. I've got no more space for my arm to move. Now, if I was a left-handed smith, the opposite would be true. The opposite would be true. I could start on this side and we'll work my way around. And then you can see I wouldn't be able to do that way. So that's a good thing to practice. Make sure that you're on the right side of the anvil when you're forging the eye out. Now let's get a close up while we forge out this eye. First thing you want to do, you see these little ears, these little cat ears? You're going to knock those down and then periodically go to the flat face of the anvil to just keep the thickness the same. Knock those down a little bit more, even it out. And then now we're going to reheat the workpiece and we're going to rotate our hand all the way around the bottom of the horn and knock that into shape. Okie dokie. Just want to rotate all the way around. And then once you get all the way around, you flip the workpiece around, you flip your tongs around, and then you do that again and go back the same way. And then doing that, it keeps the eye even. Now we're going to chuck this back in the forge and do another round. Turn it around. I'd say that hole's big enough. You can see where there's a bit of a wide section there. Focus a bit of blows on there. Now it's at a bit of an angle, so just tap it over a little bit. So now what we're going to do is, instead of holding it straight up and down, I'm going to hold it at an angle on the horn and tap down those sharp edges and flip it around and do the same thing again. So that'll knock down the outside edges, and it'll also knock down the inner edges because they're hitting the horn. Now again, we're using our planishing face, and we're going to just do this very lightly. Oh, my camera. It's the last thing I want to fall over right now. So we're just going, oh gosh, sorry guys. Just going very lightly, flip it around, and even do this at a black heat. So we're just planishing at this point, just making everything nice and smooth. It's the little details that matter. Nice! Leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you want me to cover in my future videos and what I can do to improve them. It helps me gauge what you guys really want me to cover, and it also helps with the YouTube algorithm. Now it's time for us to shape our eye. Now you want to take this really easy. You just want to slightly tap over the end until you get the desired shape. I like to notch my tongs against my leg to help support it while I'm tapping it over. I think I can see that's a little bit crooked, so what I need to do is I need to tap it over a little bit. So I'll just hold it over the edge and give it a few taps that way. I think I'm going to heat this up one more time just to get it exactly how I want it. That's looking pretty good to me. Pretty good indeed. This alone isn't going to open a bottle just yet. First, we need to forge in the dimple that slots underneath the bottle cap. For this, we're going to use our rounding punch that we forged in my beginner smithing tool series. You're going to hold the rounding punch so it's just overhanging the edge by a little bit, and then you're going to punch it until you form the tab. I probably didn't heat this up enough. Too focused on setting up my camera. I'm going to heat this up one more time, and then we're going to forge that out. I've also been battling the rain, and it's really trying its best to put my forge out. So as I go, as I punch, I'm kind of angling the punch outwards, and that helps push the tab out. That's pretty good. I am very happy with that. Now that the major forging work is out of the way, it's time to decorate our bottle opener. I like to start out by punching in my touch mark. Big whack, another big whack, one more big whack. I like to put mine on the front because it's just the shape of a shield, as you can see. You can put yours on the front or the back. I don't mind putting mine on the front because it's just the shape of a shield and it doesn't really take away from the aesthetic of the design. But if you've got a brand name or your initials, I would recommend putting them on the back. And if you're doing a custom design, ask the client if they want you to put on your touch mark or if they want it more clean looking. If you're trying to start your own small blacksmithing business, I would highly recommend creating your own touch mark because it immediately shows your customers that you're a professional and that they can trust in the quality of your work. This next part is arguably the funnest part of the process because it's where you get to express your own creativity. I'm going to merge two designs together that I love. The first is inspired by Torbjorn Ahman and the other from John Switzer at Black Bear Forge. I'll link both their videos in the description. I'm starting off with my hot chisel that I forged in, you guessed it, my beginner smithing tool series, to cut in some decorative lines, and I'm going to cross them over in the middle of the handle just for some extra pizzazz, and then I'll use some inspiration from John Switzer's design and punch some decorative dots. I haven't actually covered how to forge a center punch, but it's very, very simple. It's just like any other punch, except you just round over the, well, I shouldn't say round, but you just grind in at a 45-degree angle until you get a center point like that. I want to preface that just because you see a design online, it doesn't mean that you can't replicate it, at least in the beginning when you're learning how to blacksmith. At this point, every design you can think of has probably already been made. And if you think that you've forged something truly unique, someone's probably already forged 1,000 of them. So by all means, use this design. Practice, experiment, and once you got your technique down, find ways to add your own flavor and make your bottle openers truly yours. To take this bottle opener up a notch, I'm just gonna take the time to knock down all the sharp edges on the handle. This only takes a second. And I'll do that on both sides, seeing as the fingers will be gripping around this side. I'm just doing this over the edge of the anvil, so we've actually got some room there, otherwise we'll be smashing against the face and damaging it. And then on the back side, we'll hold it, knock the eye of the bottle opener down, and that allows the tab to reach underneath the bottle cap. And then you want to heat up your handle, doesn't have to be very hot, and then just curve it over the horn of your anvil. Just like so. I'm happy as with that. It's small details like these that really take your work to the next level. It's time to finish our bottle opener. Now, because it's classed as a kitchen utensil, I like to use a food grade finish. Now, I'm going to be using this food safe paste wax. It's advertised as timber wax. It's good for chopping boards, so I know it's going to be good for this. I cannot believe I made such a rookie mistake. I left the bottle opener in the forge after all the forging is done. And then I went to go play with the lights and the camera, and then this happened. So now we've got to try and fix it. I cannot put into words how angry at myself I am. After all that work, right at the very end, I was playing around with the lights and I cannot fix it for the life of me. It is stuffed, for lack of better words, but I may as well show you how to finish it. You want to give the workpiece a really light heat so the wax lightly smokes when you apply it. If the smoke is billowing off, the wax is just evaporating off the surface and not bonding to the steel. So now that our burnt to a crisp bottle opener is cool to the touch, we're going to take some leather cord. I cut this at 8 inches or 200 millimeters long, and we're going to tie a thumb knot in it. So we'll just bring it around like that, get the holes through the loop, and boom, we'll tighten it up like so. Get it nice and tight, just like so. That's probably the only knot I learned how to tie in Cub Scouts. And then we're going to push it through the front hole, and then we're going to loop it through like so. And now we can hang it on a hook. I am curious. We may as well see if this will open a bottle of beer. I really doubt it, but oh, it still works. But I'm definitely not going to be selling this one. I do reckon I deserve this beer after all of that though. Well, I may have ruined the whole premise of this video of how to forge a $50 bottle opener, but I am preparing to sell all of these for $50 each at my local craft fair. It'll be really interesting to see how well they sell, because the economy in New Zealand is not very good right now, but $50 is a more than fair price for the amount of fuel, time, effort, and skill it takes to forge a traditional bottle opener. I guess I'll have to share my results in a future video, which shouldn't be too far away. But if you want to see the results, I guess you should subscribe. I don't know if I should really be asking you that, because I don't really feel like I deserve your subscription anymore after burning the bottle opener. But until then, see you next time and have a good night.